Lot, the nephew of Abram, has been captured by a coalition of wicked kings. Abram, in response, has raised a small band, 318 men, and gone to rescue his nephew Lot. Against all odds, against all expectations, Abram defeats the kings and claims back Lot. On his way home, returning with the wealth he has plundered from the wicked kings, he comes across a strange figure. The figure is called a priest of God Most High, the first priest described in sacred scripture, a man called Melchizedek, which means King of Righteousness. He is the king of Salem, Salem meaning peace. Most of the other biblical figures who are presented have long genealogies describing who their fathers were and who their grandfathers were and who their great-grandfathers were, and so on and so on. Melchizedek has none of this, and therefore he seems to be a man unmoored from history, unmoored from time and space, a man beyond time and space, beyond history. He appears out of nowhere. Melchizedek offers a sacrifice on behalf of Abram, a sacrifice of bread and wine. And in response, Abram gives Melchizedek 1/10 of all he owns. And as mysteriously as he has arrived, Melchizedek leaves without a trace. Afterwards, God the Most High will enter into a covenant with Abram, and eventually will give Abram a new name, Abraham. This lays the foundation of God's first covenant with Israel, the Old Covenant, with the old rite and the old priesthood that will be finalized with Moses in the desert. This is the context of the 7th chapter of the Epistle to the Hebrews. Melchizedek is of special interest to the author. Melchizedek is a priest, unbound, set loose from time and space, which gives him an almost supernatural appearance. And many have interpreted what the author says in Hebrews about Melchizedek as signifying that the priest is somehow supernatural, maybe an angelic being, or even something divine in nature. However, the reality is that Melchizedek is a type of Christ. That's type with a capital T. Not simply a thing similar to Christ, not simply something like Christ, but something that points to Christ in a prophetic way and sheds light on who Christ is, just as Christ sheds light backwards on who Melchizedek is. Christ then is a priest in the order of Melchizedek. Like Melchizedek, Christ's priesthood arises after the rescue of a captive, where Abram rescues Lot, his nephew. Christ rescues all of humanity through the cross. And like Abraham's meeting with Melchizedek, the priestly sacrifice of Christ on the cross leads to the establishment of a new covenant. How does the priesthood of Melchizedek relate back to the old priesthood, the priesthood of Aaron? The author says, It is even more obvious when another priest arises resembling Melchizedek, one who has become a priest not through a legal requirement concerning physical descent, but through the power of an indestructible life. With the Jewish priesthood, the priesthood of Aaron, the priesthood of the temple in Jerusalem, the priesthood of the house of Levi. In this Jewish priesthood, one becomes a priest through a legal requirement concerning their physical descent from the house of Aaron. They have to be an ancestor of Aaron and Levi. Their priesthood does not persist. It passes away when they die. As they die, their priesthood dies with them. But Jesus Christ, who is a priest like Melchizedek, unmoored from time and space, he has a priesthood that comes through the power of an indestructible life, not through physical descent from an ancestor. It is a priesthood that will persist, that will continue, that will transcend time and space and bring about a new rite, the new covenant. Christ, like Melchizedek, lacks what's essential to the priesthood of Aaron, descent from the tribe of Levi. Yet the author says Melchizedek seems greater than Abraham himself, and therefore greater than Levi and Aaron. He is greater than the patriarchs, greater than the priests of the Jewish faith. He receives a tribute from Aaron, and by extension from all of Israel. And in return, he offers a priestly blessing, the blessing of a priest to a penitent. Christ is inducted into the order of Melchizedek by the Father. You are a priest forever according to the order of Melchizedek, free from the need to descend from the house of Levi. This brings about a new covenant, a covenant not connected simply to the house of Israel, but a universal covenant for all humanity. This new covenant is transcendent rather than localized in Israel and its people. The author tells us he is able for all time to save those who approach God through him. All those who come to Christ can receive salvation. He has a priesthood for all people, and therefore he opens up a covenant, a new rite, a new temple for all people at all times, in all places, unmoored from time and space.